and thank you for joining me today. My name is Ivan Gutierrez, and this presentation is in regards to the proposed study for my dissertation, which is the lived experiences of leaders who lead a team working in a virtual environment. Before I go into my proposed study, I'd like to share a little bit more about myself. I am a current student at the University of Arizona Global Campus in the PhD program in Organizational Development and Leadership. I am currently an Airports Engagement Officer at the Federal Aviation Administration, which is the FAA, and I have over 8 years of federal service to include service in the Department of Homeland Security. I am a U.S. Marine Corps combat veteran, and I served in Fallujah, Iraq during 2004. And thanks to my studies, I was able to join the prestigious Presidential Management Fellowship Program, which is also known as the PMF. I am the current president of the Standing Committee of the Los Angeles Episcopal Diocese, and I am a board member of the Selective Service System. The statement of the problem for this proposed study. The general problem is that most organizations have not trained leaders of teams working in a virtual environment. The specific problem is that leaders are not adequately prepared to effectively lead teams working in a virtual environment. The purpose of the study, the purpose of the proposed qualitative phenomenological study, is to explore the lived experiences of leaders who supervise a team working in a virtual environment. The importance of this study. Telework continues to expand in both the private and the public sectors. The COVID-19 pandemic pushed many employers to offer telework opportunities to employees who prior to the pandemic did not have that opportunity. Many of the employers pushed to telework had to do it to ensure that their business was still viable and that they could continue to produce goods and services for their customers and their clients. The results of the study may help organizations enhance their leadership development programs. It will provide information for practitioners to better prepare current and future leaders of teams working in a virtual environment. For this proposed study, I have two research questions. The first question is, what are the lived experiences of leaders of teams working in a virtual environment in relation to the challenges that are faced during this type of work arrangement? And the second research question is, what meanings do leaders of teams working in a virtual environment ascribe to their experiences when leading a team in a virtual working environment? Some of the literature that I reviewed during this process demonstrated that most academic literature on telework focuses on the employee's lived experience from the employee's lived perspective. And therefore, although this research is valuable to organizations, to leaders, and employees alike, it does not provide enough insight into leaders' experience in a telework environment. Throughout the literature review, I did find definitions of telework, such as telecommuting, remote working, hybrid remote working. So there's still more telework definitions out there to come in the future. The history of telework, the perceived advantages and disadvantages of telework from the employee's perspective, the leader's perspective, and the organization, the evolution of virtual working environments, and how the difference and the similarities of leading in a traditional working environment and also a virtual working environment. A qualitative methodology was selected for this research, as a qualitative study is appropriate when the research aims to explore and understand the experiences of individuals or groups and the context in which these experiences are situated. Qualitative methods can contribute new knowledge and provide potentially new perspectives in the leadership field of study in a more descriptive and in-depth way than quantitative methods. The research design for this study will be conducting a phenomenological design to explore the lived experiences of leaders who lead a team working in a virtual environment. This will be done conducting interviews via the phone, which will be recorded of leaders within that lead teams working in virtual environments. A little bit more on the participant samples. The participants solicited for the proposed study will be leaders who work full time while leading a team working in a virtual environment. Leaders will be needed to be in that same or a similar position for a minimum of 1 year. And the initial sample size will be between 12 to 15 participants from a federal agency. If saturation is not achieved within the initial sample size, then more participants will be pooled and will be added until saturation is reached. This study seeks to understand the lived experiences of leaders of teams working in a virtual environment. There is a lack in academic literature regarding the lived experiences of leaders of teleworks. As I mentioned, there is plenty of research on the employee's perspective, and that is great, but I'm looking to fill that literature gap of the academic literature in regards to the experiences of leaders. The literature review included history of evolution of telework, the impacts on leadership in a traditional working environment, and in a virtual work environment. The future of COVID 19, the effects of COVID 19 on telework, and almost as important there, the future of telework, how it's going to be as we move forward in a post pandemic era where telework may be continue to be used or perhaps not, depending on the organizations, the type of work, and whether it's the right fit. The research method that will be used will address the research questions in this qualitative phenomenological study. I do want to thank you for this opportunity to discuss my proposed research. I understand that this is not a live session, but if you have any further questions or any ideas or anything that comes to mind, you may contact me at my email there, ivan.gutierrez, the number one, at yahoo.com, and just let me know that you reviewed the e-poster at the symposium and that you have questions or ideas or just like to get a little bit more insight, please feel free to reach out to me and I will help and answer any question that you may have as best that I can. And last, once again, just thank you. And here are some of the references that were used in today's presentation and throughout the proposed study of mine for my dissertation. Feel free to review it at your convenience. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.